about it, learn about it, I was like, wait, paint about it. There's so much history in each piece, and it's people that you know. Their lives, what they did, is the literal culture of America.
My role at Way Library to essentially just provide historical context, Black history and Black art and Black culture into the rest of the year, and they can learn a little bit more.
The effect of it, like last year, a couple of people had asked me to show them my work, and I was like, oh yeah. Little did they know that I knew a lot about each character, and like as I painted them, I listened to podcasts, I listened to their interviews, I listened to them singing. So I would go around and tell them about each one, and they were just like, that experience really brought it home. And two, and if you don't know, well, here you go. I think it's a great public service. And Nicole's awesome. And two, why don't we get people of color involved?
This is the exhibit of some of the mugshots of the Freedom Riders, and part of the reason why I love that Rob chose this exhibit in particular is I, as a historian, love mugshots, which is a very strange thing. But I also try and tell my students about the Freedom Riders as I'm trying to explain the civil rights movement in a more complicated way. One of the reasons why the Freedom Riders are so important is that they're literally just young college students. Part of why I love this exhibit more than some of the others is that some people may never come into the library to see the rest of the exhibit. They won't go on the tour. If this is all that they see, I hope that they will take the message here that this is what democracy looks like. This is what it looks like when you love your country maybe more than it loves you, and you are willing to put your body on the line to be treated like an equal citizen.
Every year I always have a bigger list, and then it has to go through this editing process. With the collaboration with the library, when I'm thinking about who I want to do, it's weird how organically it becomes what it becomes. And like last year I did movers and shakers. It was kind of like people who were all against the odds, flipped the coin, and which all these people are doing it, but it was so much more like born a slave, overlooked, like Eartha Kitt was forced to sleep under a porch with cats, and for her to rise up. So this year what I chose was, I wanted a strong Black woman's voice, and it's so funny because I didn't even think about it. Outside of doing Ella Baker, I did a lot of Black female singers, right? And so that was kind of a cool. And the ages of what I portrayed them as was another cool aspect of it. Putting Beyonce and Michael Jackson together, one, they're probably the greatest talents that we've ever seen in Beyonce's formation. How post-Katrina is probably the strongest narrative for New Orleans, and to tell women to get into formation. And the lyric, I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils. It's hard to not say that and feel it. I thought that was important to put him next to her, and two, in his younger self.
Interestingly enough, most of these portraits are from the 20th and 21st century. There's one from earlier, which is Dred Scott. But I think it's actually really interesting because I think we always want to, or at least I always want to make clear to my students that history literally is happening. It is not always hundreds of years ago or rich people, they're politicians and things like that. I mean, there are sort of simple people who are coming from simple backgrounds, poor backgrounds, working class backgrounds, who have contributed maybe certainly more than they even imagined that they were contributing. And I think some of that is evident in the artwork here. So we have a lot of artists, musicians, and athletes, dancers, but we also have people who are just sort of caught up in the kind of maelstrom of history, violently in some cases, but also politicians who literally get into politics simply so that they can become a part of the democratic system and help change it from the inside.
My next year's show, I want to keep it really Black Lives Matter oriented. Just really push the envelope and have it be like the horrific, brutal life of like Black history. And I want to put it with also like the superstars of that, and like the first Black female millionaire, just to show you the depth of where that lies and how there's still obstruction in every one of their stories. There's suppression in every one of those stories, and how they had to like just kind of duck, circumnavigate, or get chipped away and take a hit and be better, you know. And like I said, they're like all these people are distillates of things that are like super grand, super great, super huge. They're survivors. Like along the way, they could have died out any time, but they managed to like persist and keep going.
Obviously, the first is that they will see Rob's artwork, right? But then the second, I think, is because these are figures who often aren't a part of the Black History Month sort of narrative that we get in schools or that we get on like television, that they'll get a sort of understanding that Black History Month isn't just February, right? That Black history isn't just in February, but also that they can take an appreciation for Black history and Black art and Black culture into the rest of the year, and they can learn a little bit more.